And here we go.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. They're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Steve Van Samson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smith.
Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of The Clutch of Personalities. We're doing a little different thing this week. Delphine is on vacation. I have taken my body back over because we're discussing the Kickstarter for More Lore from the Mythos Volume 1 that Raz and I are both in, and we've brought along Friday to hang out with us, and Stefan Lear and Luchesi, the founder and editor. Oh, I'm getting things backwards. I can't look right. From over at Fractured Mind Publishing to discuss everything about the Kickstarter. So, how's everybody doing?
Hello, everybody. Lily's the badass editor.
I think you're still pointing in the other direction.
I just do this a lot. I just pull like snaps in a circle and
do a little doctor.
and swish it around a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna break out Cthulhu, and Cthulhu's hiding. So I don't know. I still have Secret Agent Cthulhu.
There we go.
Yeah,
all my stuff's in boxes. It's not fair.
Busted out, but yeah. So we have got going on right now.
Nice.
Yes. Right now we have going on down across the bottom. You can see it. This is, I guess I have to actually share the screen if I'm going to go do it. The Kickstarter for the More Lore from the Mythos special hardcover editions. We have hit funding, folks.
I know. We just watched it happen live, actually.
Congratulations.
So,
what?
Yes.
Yeah, no, when she brought it up,
1903.
when she brought it up, it said 1866, and then it like flashed.
Oh my God, I've got to go check this out.
Yeah.
This is a magical moment for us here on Kickstarter. The odds of that happening are insane. Here on StreamYard. Yay! So we still have 18 days to go, though, folks.
Oh my goodness!
And if we're looking through here, I'm gonna go to the features section. Hey, we have some gorgeous artwork that has been added by Paul Cave. He read the stories and then came up with his interpretations of them. The dust jacket is kind of more accentuated. I'll pull some of these up larger later so you can see them. This is the cover of the case-bound foil prism finish one. And there is also this special cloth edition covered hardback. And that one is one you can only get on the Kickstarter. So if cloth is your thing, and it will also have the dust jacket with it, but if cloth is your thing, you can only pick that up here. And if you hop on, there's a bunch of different rewards. You can go for the new book. You can do just the PDF. You can add the PDF on. You can get the paperback or ebook and paperback, the cloth, the hardcover, or both of the hardcovers. So that's what you want.
Everything.
And yeah, you can do the add-ons and be able to pick up everything with this. So I'm gonna hop back over here and pull this down, and Stefan can actually hold up for us so you can see the foil. If you have that handy, I couldn't show that very well. But that is what that looks like, and it's so gorgeous.
I'm just front, like, and that's the back.
Yeah,
we actually are at 100% on our
over 100% now.
I'm so excited.
So
awesome. Weird, man. You just popped that up and we watched it go, and I'm like, wait. It's nuts, man.
That was the most epic timing whatsoever. But guys, keep going though. Hey, Tom Dog, because the more we get, the more we can produce and send out, and it also helps the authors and stuff. And we hit the bare minimum to make sure that everything got covered. Now we're going to push for these last 18 days, and you're going to be getting some more shows out of us than just this, because we want to get as many people as we can on to tell you a little bit about their stories, what inspired them for their particular stories, read a little bit. We aren't going to read you the entire stories, but we'll give you little tidbits of the stories and show you some more of the artwork. And here was that picture that you might not have been able to see too well, some examples of the artwork. And I'm saving the majority of it for when people come on, so that when they tell their story, we'll be able to put their artwork up with them. So yeah, Stefan, you're the one who got this all put together. Oh yeah, that one's mine. So I got that one right here. I was just like, oh my God, I love it. I don't know. I'm a little Viking, if you can't tell. But
it is so gorgeous. Hey, I heard a crow.
Crow? What? So, Stefan, with Fractured Mind, what made you decide to put together this anthology? What inspired you, and how did you say, hey, we're going to do this? This is back 5 years ago.
So, way back when H.P. Lovecraft actually sort of invited everyone to contribute to his mythology. He wanted a complete mythology. And as a result, he has probably the largest universe inside of horror. And I love horror. So it was the deal. So I figured, let's contribute more stories to the mythology, which is where the title came from, More Lore from the Mythos. That's how I came up with the idea for More Lore from the Mythos. And it came together really good. It was almost like synchronicity. I put out feelers, and people who were enthusiastic about the Lovecraft mythos, they were like, yeah, I want to contribute a story. And I'm like, cool. And just in case anybody thinks that we just put out whatever was submitted, you can ask Lily. We had 34 people in our group, and only 14 of the stories got accepted. So there was a lot of cut, not going to happen. And then Lily took over from there. She is the master editor. She knows exactly how to get things crafted, to get things going. So her, at the time, it was her editing, and her mother, Annie, was actually the virtual assistant. And they are the ones who put out all the social media shares. Their company is called Partner in Crime. And they did everything for me. They made this a success.
And we have
these could blush, I would be blushing.
And we had great sales. It was released on Halloween, my birthday. I was so excited. And we were hitting the tops in the anthologies and stuff on Amazon sales those days. We rocked it when this came out.
My mom was tracking.
I think at one point
promotion, she was tracking everything. She was like, "Did you see where it went? Did you see where it went?" She was excited for you guys.
It was thrilling. I had all these screenshots. Yeah, I was sharing them. Like, we're up here. And now I got kicked out of Facebook for a year and ended up losing all of those shareable memories of things. But it was so Lily, what was it like going through 34 Lovecraft stories and deciding, like, obviously don't like put anybody down or be like, oh my God, there was this story and you wouldn't believe it. But
no, that goes against my contract and my code, but I didn't get the full 34. Stefan did some of the culling before it got to me. And then when the stories that he selected got to me, there were still a couple that needed to be culled. One I even communicated with an author briefly about, okay, I understand this is Lovecraft, but racism and misogyny are not cool anymore. And it wasn't working out. So the content of every story, the talent was top tier. What I was given was top tier talent. What I had to cut through was just that little bit of, just the tiniest bit of excess fat to make the dish taste perfect. And it was the first thing that I worked with Fractured Mind for. I've done everything they've released since then. But it was very thrilling. I'd only done a couple of Lovecraft, even after being a fan for many years, because none of my clients at the time were working. So when I got contacted for it, I was like, yes, I'm on board. I want to do this. Like, it was a project that I would have happily taken on. Like, of course I don't, go to people and request, but I would literally requested to work on this if I could have.
Nice. Yeah, you were talking about synchronicity, and this for me was just the weirdest thing because I somehow got invited to the group and I don't know how. And I ended up making the book, and it was the first thing I've ever had published, and I was published on my birthday. So it was like the best birthday present ever. I was just like out of my mind. I squeed a lot that year. There was so much squee, and like, look at this.
I remember the day we hit number 2 on Amazon in horror anthologies.
We had
so proud of everyone.
there was a problem going on, by the way, folks, over on Amazon with some gal. I don't remember her name even, but she has published like 400 books or something on her own. It's something ridiculous. Like, no, you're not writing all of these. There's no way you're writing all these, or they're all like the same thing or some, but she had things listed in every category, and she had like romance novels that were single novels, like in the top 5 of horror anthologies. And we're like, these aren't horror anthologies. These are novels for, and so we're like writing stuff down, and Stefan's like, I'm telling Amazon on her, and I'm like, I'm sending her messages. And so like I sent her a message, and I was like, you might want to check with your publisher or whoever runs your PR, because they're representing your novels wrong. Yeah, you're in the top 5, but it's absolutely the wrong category and everything. And she did not reply to me, but somehow I ended up following her, because I sent her a message, and I'm like, no, I'm not following her. She's a cheater.
I remember that person. It wasn't just horror anthology category either. There were a couple other categories that were misplaced. But it was horror anthology. I had edited a different horror anthology that I took part in, and the same thing happened. But she didn't have as many books at the time. It was only earlier in the year, and it was very frustrating. A lot of people were upset.
Yeah, you don't.
In spite of all that, we still hit our tops in horror anthology, despite people cheating and putting their books into categories they don't belong in. There's no way that young adult romance belongs in the horror anthology category.
Nope.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to be like, when we beat Stephen King and Dinar Koontz, and you're just like, okay. And then it's like, oh, okay, Lovecraft is beating us, but that's his complete works and everybody can do it. So it's whoever released that. But being up there was just like, oh, look at our name above this one. We're so cool.
It was well deserved. You all worked so hard on stories, and I remember going through editing everything, and there were a couple times I had to double back and be like, wait, I didn't edit this. I actually have to edit. I'm not just reading here. I gotta work. Gotta do my job. But the stories were just so fantastic.
And a lot of us got to meet each other, and it's like tailored friendships from that point on. That's something I really love about anthology work, is that you get to meet people, and then you extend on. It's not just the networking, it's like the actual friendships that blossom out of it. We're all friends, and I love being able to follow you guys and keep up with you and see everything that's going on. It's just been so great.
Well, one thing that happened for this anthology right here is that I, of course, asked everybody's permission in the anthology before we did the Kickstarter. And one author did not want to do a Kickstarter. I'm not naming names because I'm not about that. So we took him out of the anthology, and that is where Raz comes in. Raz replaced his story.
And there was other interesting stuff. Go ahead.
Oh, to explain why Raz would have been one of the people selected to replace, he is in volume 2. So
yes.
So he wasn't just a random off the street recruit. But Raz, I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, it's interesting because the guy that I ended up, the author that I ended up replacing, and we had a very similar background in getting our start in horror with like Creepypasta and No Sleep. on Reddit. So like that was like a really cool thing for me to like kind of step in and also make sure that that was like still represented in the anthology. So like it's sort of an extra special moment for me in that. And plus, you know, I got to rejoin all my favorite people that I did the second one with, and also meet people that I hadn't got a chance to meet. So like I've been enjoying this, man. But had she not have accidentally been invited to your group, I wouldn't have known about you guys at all, and then I wouldn't have submitted for part 2, and I wouldn't have been included in this. So it's like they talk a lot about in writing. It's about who you know, and what people really don't get is that's half of it. Knowing the right people is half of it. To get the invite to submit something, but then then the rest of it's all you. Writing a story that's worthy of being used. So like it's kind of a complimentary there. Knowing people and writing.
Absolutely.
I think in indie publishing, that's how this kind of all goes through. Like we met, I believe through a different publisher and a couple of mutual authors that we knew who wrote horror and fantasy. And then I've met other people that I've thankfully been working with. John Toby's one of them. I'm actually, as soon as I get off of here, I'm finalizing a cover for him. So yeah, this networking, it is a very big community. And that's why I think most people in here are very nice, because you can't be an asshole in such a tight-knit community where you're going to be ousted eventually if you are.
Oh yeah. Or you can be an asshole, just not the people you're collaborating with.
There's also a good kind of asshole too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm the fun.
I tell people all the time that I am the nicest asshole that they will ever meet.
My mother used to introduce herself. This was how she and her best friend met, but she used to talk and say, "Hi, I'm a bitch." It's like, get out there up front.
That's awesome.
All my friends are assholes. Sorry, I had to leave there for a second. I had some very persistent door knockers that were wanting to tell me about their church, and like they just kept knocking for over 2 minutes there. So I was finally like, I should probably go before they start like beating down the door. I don't know if it was a neighbor, maybe something, pipes leaking or something. So I had to check.
I have a Jehovah's Witness story from when I was in California in Marin County. We had some Jehovah's Witnesses, and there were 3 of us in an apartment building, and the Super Bowl was coming up. So we would invite them, and we would talk, and while they were talking and giving their little spiel, we would smoke cigarettes and drink Gatorade, out of respect for their religion. But they decided to come over on Super Bowl, and we invited them to watch the Super Bowl with us. And by the end of the night, they were so drunk that they couldn't leave.
You corrupted the Jehovah's Witnesses.
We did.
We had those in Hollywood, and they would line up. And why you would be lining up with your megaphones and your tracks outside of a goth BDSM club? I don't know, but they did. And my mother's thing was, as they were coming by, she would stop like she wanted to talk to them. And Stefan knows when my mom was like, she would give this big, bright, warm, welcoming smile, and she would say, "Satan loves you." They would stop preaching to us because they got scared. Like, what do you mean this woman's like, "Satan loves you"? Instead of yelling at them. Every time.
I can see Annie doing that.
My mom's house was banned from being on the list of places they were allowed to go, and like I saw the map, like we were X'd out. Because where I've worked in horror my whole life and haunted attractions, I've always got like fake blood and latex around the house. Like I've always got just things sitting around, and they had been leaving these pamphlets forever. I was like collecting a stack, and so when I knew they were like a block or 2 away, I put all the pamphlets all across the porch, and I went out there with one of those exterminator pump sprays full of blood and just sprayed down the whole porch with blood everywhere. And they come up to the door, and I'm like, I'm watching them at the window. And they're like, they start to walk up, like, "Hey, there's one of our pamphlets." And they're just standing like horrified. And like at some point, I don't know why they ran. Like I opened the door and I came out real quick. I had like a fake, it was like a fake hatchet. It was a pretty fake looking one too, because I didn't want them to think it was an actual one. Like hopefully, but I just went out with it like this and kind of put it behind my back like this, and then I just kind of set it down on the table and stared at them. They stood there for another like 3 or 4 minutes, just look of horror on their face, like, just not move. And then finally, they
That's awesome.
didn't go to the next house. They just turned away, started walking away back where they came from, a couple blocks away, like to where the car was parked. And like every like couple feet or so, they go a little faster to the point where they hit the stop sign, and they were like running a marathon at that point in time, like just right down to the end of the road. And they just never came back to Mom's house. I'd see them in the neighborhood, and I'd wave, and they would just walk away.
Okay, I am on the no visit list as well, but apparently not anymore. That's good to know. But I was on the no visit list for about a decade, but for a different reason. It was because I really like having religious discussions, and so I'd always be like, come on in, I baked something for you. We'd set up times and appointments, and I'd go through, and I did all the reading and studying and stuff. But out of respect, I could not go through getting baptized because I respect all the different religions, and I'm like, I can't be baptized in your religion because it's not going to be the only one I'm going to follow. So they were like, oh, okay. But they would always send over the next people because I was nice and stuff. And then finally the pastors were like, you're never going to convert her, so stop going over there. But
that's a polite way of doing it. That's
yeah, but I
us had.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it was really. I'm like, I was the nicest person to them, and they can't come visit me anymore. So, although now they can. So there's a new batch. I apparently got taken off the naughty list, so I'm better now. Anyway, sorry for that disruption to this program, folks. So, yeah, I'm just like excited that we hit the mark.
That's
Yay,
so awesome.
us.
I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm still like gobsmacked.
I'm still refreshing it every now and then just to see if it changes again.
I just-
All day, like, every hour or two, I'm looking at my phone and refreshing. Has it moved? Yes.
The power of StreamYard. Oh, we got on.
I need an old podcast for the young pastors. That.
So, have you had any fun with the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Me?
Yeah.
I am currently banned from them because that's probably not a good on-air story.
Fair enough.
That is not a good on-air story.
That's a good way to pique you.
Are you saying that we might get censored?
Well, they decided
That's
to say
awesome.
very inappropriate things after a very sad happening, heartbreaking happening. And they
Okay.
did not like the reception they got when they came to the door.
Gotcha. Okay. It happens.
So we're all banned. That's imagine that. A room full of horror authors, and we're all banned for various
There's
reasons.
numerous religious entities that have banned me for different things, but yeah, man. So here's what I learned in a band. It's really cool, like when you want to do like different personas up on stage, just for shock or to have fun. But what you do not do is name yourself, even for one show. Do not wear a priest costume. Don't do it, and don't call yourself Raz T Christ of Latter-day Assholes, because the Mormons get very, very upset, like angry, death threats. And I was a nice guy about it, I took the collar off, I get where you're coming from. So there was a whole thing, but then I found out my real name is Josiah, Jessiah. I don't go by my real anything. Well, I went to a Lutheran church once, and apparently there's a belief that a man named Josiah that follows pagan religions that will be 18 in the year 2000, like all the things that are me, is who the next Antichrist is. So my mom unknowingly named me after the Antichrist, and now I can't even go to a Lutheran church because they find out my real name, and I've been asked to leave like 3 of them. I'm just here to be cool, man. I swear to God, I'm not the second coming. I'm not going to destroy you. I mean, today, that might be in my future, but I mean, chill out, dude.
Sorry, being confused for the Antichrist is probably one of the coolest things.
Yeah, it's like I'm just here for the punch and pie, like that's
This
it.
is my claim to fame now. The Antichrist was in my anthology.
Don't say that because people might think that you mean a certain political party, and they won't want to buy the book.
And my middle name
I
was
have
named
been
after Elliott.
exercised.
Yes.
Yes, I was exercised once. That was
You
that
were
was terrifying.
Exorcism? Because I participated in exorcisms, but I was one of the people getting the spirit out. So
Right.
No, so do you remember way back in the 90s when they had hypercolor shirts and they would change colors if you had heat touching them? Okay, so I was at I went with one of my friends to a Bible study group, and the way that, and we had some lady who was like traveling through across the United States, and she was supposed to be a miracle worker who spoke in tongues and all this stuff. And she was just there to tell. Yeah, so she was there to tell us all about, the things that she'd been through. And the way that my collarbones stick and stuff on the shirt, it kept making like a skull sort of shape. And I'd like just heat over it. And then, but she was convinced then that, I'm sure that being a miracle worker, was part of the convince. She was trying to find someone, and I was the easy bait to then be led into the couch, and she would like speak in tongues, rolling her eyes back and have everybody chanting and stuff. And being exercised is fucking terrifying, by the way. I'll just let you know this.
I have a problem with your story. I need to bust in because you said she put you on a couch. I feel like this is the casting couch for the Lord. Like I feel like the story is going somewhere, and I'm not sure.
I don't know. She wasn't going to bind me to a chair if she could just hold me down on a couch. And then I just kept making sure that I'd sit around like this. So it was like, yeah, you got it.
Oh,
totally.
goodness.
Oh, you got that demon out of me. Heat up the shirt. Don't show this.
Machetes. Like, I get couch machetes now. It finally makes sense to me why you have machetes in your couch.
Oh, yes. If you guys weren't aware of it, I keep a couch machete on hand.
I mean, who doesn't?
For when yeah, really. You should if you don't. They're handy.
I've got
my knife is significantly smaller that's on my couch right now.
I keep my couch machete ready in case anybody decides.
3 big old farm machetes and 2 farm axes from an estate sale a couple days ago. They're just over here somewhere, so I can stab them or I can chop them and give them tetanus at the same time. That's like the real scare right there.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Is that for an arm sheath or like?
This is actually a Saxon blade. It's modeled after the Saxons. Yeah.
Nice.
I have the couch. I keep the couch machete. I have ice pick, like the awl shaped one, so you can just like open up the door and do like a front orbital lobotomy real quick. And I have blunt force objects. There's like anywhere you walk in my apartment, I'm within 5 feet of a weapon of some sort that I can take somebody out with, so that if I have somebody break down my cheap ass door, I'm like ready to go, And I believe that you can bring a knife to the gunfight because it depends on how skilled you are and stuff. But
you just gotta believe in yourself,
really. And
exactly,
how stealthy you can be.
Yep, how fast because they're also not going to expect most people to have a knife.
Right.
They're not going to expect someone to have a knife hidden in their cushion next to them or whatever. Mm-hmm. Even if they're opening the door, they're not going to expect a knife in the other hand,
Right, that's the Spanish position of weapons at that point.
My poor maintenance man, my ceiling fan broke, and they didn't say what time he'd be coming, just what day. And so it's just a strange man out there. So he kept the chain on. I had my knife in the other hand until he showed me, yes, I'm the one who works here. Now I recognize him. But he came in and I realized I'm still holding the knife. And he just looked, I'm like, I'm sorry. And he's he didn't look at me the whole time.
No, it's fine. I'm just still deciding. Just go on. If you do a good enough job with the repair, then I'll put it away.
My mom called me one night, and it was like after midnight, and like somebody'd been knocking on her door and walking around in her yard and stuff, and she's like, "Would you come stay here tonight?" And I have to have somebody pick me up because I can't drive because I'm epileptic. And so I'm like, I'm bringing the couch machete and the ice pick, and she's like, "Okay." And then like my nephew came and picked me up, and we're driving across town, and Mom's like, "You didn't really bring the couch machete and the knife pick, did you?" And the ice pick, did you? I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, she's like, I asked for somebody to come and protect me, not for a fucking ninja. And I'm like, wrong daughter then. Why would you call me if you didn't want me to show up armed? And so I like have pictures of them on there, and she was just like, "Oh my God, don't get pulled over. You're going to get in trouble." I'm like, they won't care. Somebody's fucking with karma. My mom's name Kara.
I'll be right back. I have to run into the other room. Wine.
I'm gonna show up quickly. Making me want some. But my mother is the one who taught me how to sleep with a knife under your pillow to make sure, because of course you don't want to keep it totally sheathed, because if you're exhausted, you're not going to be opening it, to make sure it doesn't cut your pillowcase, doesn't cut your pillow, not to put your hand under there in case. And yes, I was taught all of that stuff very young. How to use household items for weapons, because you gotta know this stuff.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she knew it all.
Nobody, you don't get in trouble if you beat somebody to death with a wrench, because it's legal to carry a wrench around, you know?
Right. It's a different, you're not charged with a weapon. Even though in some cases it could be a deadly weapon, if it's self-defense, you don't have to worry about a weapons charge going against you. Same if you have
that's why you take
meat, it's not a weapon.
Right.
You get the special feat. What is it that Raz, DM me here. I can't get
it's a fighter feat that lets you use anything as a normal weapon,
modified weapon usage. I got all of them. I have a golf. Although my neurologist once gave me some great advice. He was like, I was like, I'm going to murder my neighbors with a golf club because they just won't shut up in the middle of the night. And he's like, don't use a golf club. And I'm like, why should I not use the golf club? Because he didn't say don't murder your neighbors. He said don't use the golf club. And I was like, why should I not use the golf club? And because they think if you can afford a golf club that you have money. So they're going to assume that you're rich or something because you can afford to have golf clubs. So you use something that makes you look like you're broke, And I'm like, okay, that's fair.
I found there's some rules with that, with the self-defense thing. Like you grab whatever weapon's near you to defend yourself. There's actual rules for this because, obviously as a slasher and someone that does a lot of horror, and it's kind of standard that I've got a couple chainsaws around. But I found out that even if I'm just in a room of chainsaws and that is what I choose to defend myself with, I'm still fucked. And that feels like discrimination to me. I feel like just because my last name is Slasher, I'm not allowed to use any slashing type objects, or that's more jail time. And that makes me sad.
They jail you for being obvious.
Oh,
That's an extra term they add on. You were too obvious in your weaponry.
They're setting me up, man.
You were premeditated. It was premeditated self-defense.
Or just don't attack me when I'm in a room full of chainsaws. I mean, maybe just don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any shred of sanity, you would not attack someone in a room full of chainsaws. Yeah,
right, because you're gonna have a bad time.
Well, remember, Raz, there is no crazy without an RAZ.
That is true. That I've built my whole life around that statement.
So Cthulhu, folks. Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft. These are the kind of folks that are drawn into this web of the Cthulhu
We're
mythos.
all very sane.
Yes, you come to my door in the middle of the night. I will beat you with my father-in-law.
Sorry, I tried.
If I could lift my medication, I'd show you.
We're not psychopaths. We're high-functioning sociopaths. Do your research.
Sure.
Research is important.
Oh, yes, it is.
You know, I think if you're an author, your browser history should not be able to be held against you in a court of law.
This is very true.
I have been contacted twice by the FBI in my time as a writer from some very... Yeah, we don't need to talk about what the search subjects were. Just know that you can... they'll send you a letter the first time. It'll be a letter. It's an official letter. And you can respond to it, with, there's a form, to explain, what the hell is going on. But if they catch it again, they think it seems more suspicious than your reply was, they will actually come to your home. And don't treat that letter and form like it's a joke, because they're going to show up a week later, and yeah, and then you actually have to show them and have proof, and it's a whole thing.
My client and I, we released a set called Depraved. It's just Rain Matthews and then my pen name S.L. Sinclair, and they're extraordinarily dark, taboo romances with a lot of things in it. And while we were discussing doing research while we were writing them, both of us have decided that the personal FBI agent that looks at our computers, either they are sending us that letter or they're extremely aroused. It's going to be one or the other.
Right.
While we were researching.
Maybe both.
Maybe both.
Don't sell yourself short. Both would be great.
Yeah, we're waiting any day now. We're waiting for that to show up. I'm waiting for even a letter, even just from Amazon. Like, this is being taken down now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had somebody once who they said on Reddit that they were a mortician, and so I was like, "Oh, have I got questions for you?" And I initially approached them with, "Hi, I am a horror author. I am writing a book about this. Could I ask you some questions?" And they were like, "Sure." And I sent them the questions, and they sent me back a reply that was like, "Honestly, I think that you're the kind of person, based on these questions, that is going to be putting on some weird-ass fucked up display on the dark web. So I will not report you now, but please never contact me again." And I was like, "I said I was a horror author," and they were like, So in turn, I went and some of them I approached my neurologist with, because I was like, one of the things is I wanted to see what happened if you spiral cut a brain. And my neurologist, the same one who told me not to use the golf club, to use something cheaper to kill people with, was like, "Oh, let me go get props." And he was so excited. And he's bringing in the models of the brains they have. He's like, "Okay, so if you were to spiral cut it, you'd start here, and it turns out you'd have flaps on the side because of the separation of the lobes and stuff." And he would, "Anything else?" And he reads my books. He loves stuff. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, I'm like, "So could you save that in epoxy or would it?" And he's like, "No, epoxy would be fine for that. For bigger things, you need something a little bit better, but for this layers of things, epoxy would be great. Anything else? Do you want to any other way?" I'm like, "Well, I am going to," and he's just all over telling me stuff. So I'm like, yeah, whenever that book gets put out, it's going to be like, "Thank you, Dr. Andrews. You were my only hope," because my mom's a nurse and she's like, "Stop. I don't want to answer any more of your questions. Just leave me alone. I refuse to be your medical expert." I'm like, "Okay."
I love it when you have people in your life where you can ask the crazy questions. My mother, when I wanted to write something that was going through a funeral home, the scene actually wound up being cut. I'm still going to use the information. Her best friend growing up, he was a mortician. He started out not being able to do mortuary science, but he was still in school for it. He was the guy who would just come and remove the dead bodies and put them in the back of the hearse and then transfer them. And so she actually used to ride along with him. So she knew how the body removal went, how the caskets went, how hearses stayed the way they did, even the way that they were built. And then slowly she learned other things about embalming and how bodies get preserved. So I had a wealth of information right there. So that was great. And it's also very cool to tell people. My mom used to ride around in a hearse while her friend collected corpses. It's great.
Yeah.
What was it we came up with the other
pinch,
night?
I was going to say, in a pinch, Lily, you can always embalm a body yourself.
I could. I'm not a huge fan of the disemboweling myself because I don't like the cleanup after. But if someone wants to come help me with the tarps, awesome.
Oh no, forget the tarps. What you need are actually 3 kiddie pools, and you're solid. They're easier to dispose of too. I got you, man.
Well, in the book that I was doing, they had tubs where they needed to keep the blood fresh. So that's what they drained everything was in these tubs that they put in freezers.
Yeah, see, but I'm poor. So I'm just going to go to the neighborhood and grab 2 kiddie pools.
Just over the grocery store summer section. You're fine.
Yep. I'm going to go right there. As soon as summer markdown hits, I'm going to buy like 20 of them, and I'm good for the year.
Oh, you got to get when they have those big foam coolers for like 99 cents because they need shelf space back again.
Yeah.
Then you can fill up your garage with just like stacks of them. I don't have a garage. I'm always joking about I'm going to lock somebody in the basement, or I live in an apartment building. I don't have a car, so I don't get one of the garages. My basement is my neighbor. I need a new place to live so that I can lock people in my basement and have a garage. Not for a car.
Or you could put the body in your neighbor's car.
That would work.
The neighbor's garage, yeah, that would probably work well. We can rent a garage in my complex if we need to. So if I'm ever in a pinch, or Kari, if you ever need it, come on over. You can rent a garage here.
Just like, excuse me, I need a long Uber drive, and yes, there will be a +1. He's sleeping. You need to help me lift him in. He's sleeping deeply.
His name's Bernie. You're so blind, so you control that one arm, and you're solid.
Good.
He's fine.
See, the cool thing about living in Nebraska, we scared Stephen King because he was driving through Nebraska and he was just like, the fuck is with all of these cornfields? You could do anything here and get away with it. And it's like, oh, Stephen, you don't even know. The best thing about all these cornfields is that there are old wells that used to be active that are like out in the middle of the cornfields, and you can you just open them, and like nobody's gotten water out of there for the past 150 years or something, but they still have a tank on it because they don't want the ground to collapse or anything. So yeah. I mean, I don't know exact locations of any of them anymore.
If you see a dead body sitting next to someone in an Uber in Ohio, you're just gonna be like, "What day is it? Wednesday?" Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, in Chicago, you just think, "Oh shit, it was a drive-by."
Right.
I work in Illinois, and I'm in just fields of corn, and I've had multiple friends from cities drive through, and one of them, she was like, "Oh my god, you didn't lie. You're really in the middle of fucking corn." I'm like, yeah, there's probably a lot of bodies up here.
My mother, the nurse, back in the day, was driving I-80 out to from like our town to the other side of the state to do a course on CPR and all the different stuff for some school or something. And they had a recessive Annie with them. And the car that they ended up using that they got from the lot was a convertible. So they strapped her in the front seat. And they were just like driving on the interstate with a recessive Annie just kind of flopping around in the side. And those, if you don't know what they are, it's the doll that you practice the CPR on. But she was... Oh, it's an emergency drill. That's what they were doing. Like when you have the pretend plane explosion. So they were bringing in the fake dead bodies from everywhere. And, some people would be a walking wounded, but the recessive Annies were the dead ones. So she got to drag the dead one to the...
We used to keep a fake body in the trunk on road. Because if you were driving alone, you could just take the fake body out of your truck, like a haunt prop, and just put it in your passenger seat so you could use carpool lanes. That worked for a while until they caught on.
But were they drinking Bud Light?
No, I wasn't.
But wasn't it that commercial? Was it Bud Light that did the... Was it Bud Light that did the commercial where they were like driving around and they kept picking up all the slashers because... But honey, he's got Bud Light or something like that.
Oh,
You know, fun fact.
He's got an axe.
I was actually in a National Bud Light commercial a long time ago. They did the one where it was ladies' night, and you'd see the guys like with the big beards and like the hairy arms and legs, like put on dresses to get like the cheap beer and shit. I was actually in one of those commercials. If you can find it, a very young me, with my big old beard, in a dress, had a flower print dress on. I got paid good money for that commercial.
Nice. I'm so proud of you.
Well,
That's my brother.
I haven't been in any commercials. Sad to say.
I was in a commercial for this was fun. I was in a commercial for the place that I used to attend as a kid for my therapy. So I was like, but I was playing a parent that was bringing in a kid because I was older. But yeah, so I got to like have my therapist be in a commercial with me. That was really cool. And then when I was gonna try to contact him after my grandfather died, he died on the same day. And so I was like, I just really think that I could handle talking to Bill right now, and maybe Bill would like just meet me for a drink, and we could like. And then I look at Bill, I'm like, oh God, Bill died. Like that was just a horrible.
yeah, that's a double blow. That's a double blow.
Yeah. Yeah, my therapist died the same day I needed him more than anything else, but okay. I mean, it's not his fault, you know.
Yeah.
But he was really young, so I was like really surprised. So, Cthulhu Kickstarter. He was really young, so I was like.
That's funny. The transition.
I am lagging.
Solid transition.
I actually heard your voice coming out of someone else's speaker lagged too.
Yeah.
I think StreamYard might be their server be overloaded right now.
Yeah.
They're just like
I just got shitty internet, so right now.
Okay, speaking of the Kickstarter, for the beach babes who love their Eldritch horror, they have these great $5 bags at Dollar Tree. They're perfect for your favorite Eldritch horror. Yes, I have book 2 that I'm keeping with me because I'm currently trying to read it. A journal and pen. So you're all set to write down your thoughts, your review, or anything, or write more on your story, and keep your wonderful more lore for the Mythos with you. And no, this is literally something I did before I even knew this was happening, so I could keep my more lore for the Mythos with me. It's the perfect
This can all be
size.
yours for $49.95. Sorry, no CODs. Act now and you'll get stand in your underwear.
Speaking of more lore from the Mythos 2, which is what she was showing, Stefan, did you want to fill us in some more on that?
Well, more lore from the Mythos 2 will also have a Kickstarter. Yes. Shortly after this one is finished. Wow. Was that?
What was
me?
that?
I'm like some applause.
Fairly certain you got a ghost.
You're applauding your work. Sir.
I think I might have, but just to make sure that all my ideas are good, I'm writing down my ideas. And think I've come up with the cover for the special edition for More Lore 2, which will not be revealed right now, but it will be as spectacular as Volume 1 is. You just got to stick around to see what it's going to be.
And
go ahead.
No, all I said was I can't wait. You guys were both going. Sorry, wrong hand.
Kari, go ahead.
No.
What was
just
that
because
monster?
of that?
That was the monster.
That was the poop monster.
The movie Monster. One of my favorite movies.
We judge you on this show, and there are a couple of different creatures that judge you, including Patrick Rahall's balloon is judging you from one of his horror films. Killer Sofa will also judge you when he has time. He's my favorite.
The placement of that balloon was
And the
like...
horse.
That's
So
my
I got judged by monster.
I didn't judge you with the poop monster, but
if anyone uses him, it's going to be me. I'm going to use the poop monster.
Yeah, it's going to be Raz. It's one of his favorites to do.
Yep.
But yeah, there's an awesome lineup of authors, and I'm including myself in that. But I'm proud of this one. So yeah, in both books, and we are working on number 3 as well, which will be obviously after we get the first 2 out again.
Yep.
But submissions
definitely stick around for 3 because it's going to be spectacular. We already have the cover, the interior be chosen, so everything is good to go. All we have to get submissions and go through those and comb through them, get the proper stories to continue the mythos, which Lily will grade with a fine-tuned comb and a vicious slash of the red pen.
I'm not that bad.
I like to share things with Lily on editing stuff. Like, look at what this person wrote. Oh my God. Can you even believe that this sentence made it to somewhere? And there was one lady who wrote something, and at the beginning, the introduction to her story was, and for all of you grammar Nazis out there, I just use the punctuated form of it's, whether it's supposed to be that or not, because I don't think that there should really be a difference. So don't complain to me about that, because I'm not going to change it.
Oh my God.
And we were both just like,
I think I just died a little bit. I'm going to lie.
Yeah, it was like
the sheer stupidity and audacity to even do that. Now that's someone that you go to Amazon for and you mark up that book. How authors say, please don't do that. If someone has that in their book, they don't care, then you deliberately do that.
Yeah, not when people like me spell magic a different way on purpose or anything, you know.
Oh, that's anger.
Raz,
yeah, by the way, if you use...
Well, I mean, I found out the story first or secondhand because you told Del, then Del told me, but my understanding of the situation is I spelled magic 2 different ways on purpose. In volume 2, the guy does a lot of mythos stuff, but he's also a stage magician. So his stage magic is M-A-G-I-C. But his other type of magic is M-A-G-I-C-K to differentiate the two because they're very different things. And I guess someone was very butthurt by this and did not comprehend the differences. And they got it removed or something. I don't know all the details on what happened with it. And it blew me away.
They didn't get it removed, but they complained to Amazon, flagged the story because it was an improper spelling. Currently, on volume 2, there is a flag on the Amazon page that says, there are misspellings in this book. Basically, is what the flag amounts to. It is not improper at all. It's just, how should I say it? Educate people should not read with uneducated people.
Yeah, and God forbid you use Old English or something.
Or British English. I
use British English all the time.
When the novel came out, I had flags immediately. It wasn't even out for a full day because people had started reading it and they flagged it for misspellings just because I used British English. And it's like, no, that's supposed to be there. I beg of you to please open a book, a real book. Open any book. That doesn't have to be something. You have to not be that uneducated and untraveled. You have to at least know something about the world, please.
If you notice a U where you don't think it should be there.
Or an extra L.
Or Z.
Or a Z and S, yes.
Yes.
Sometimes a C as well.
I was typing in something the other day, and I spell with an S instead of a Z, pretty much everything. And it pulled up as I was asking a question in Google or whatever, just that word. And the definition of it was a spelling used by pretentious American authors to make them feel like they're British. And I was like, what? Because I was interested in seeing like why it wanted to find that word for me. And I was like, okay. And then all the rest of them were just like the British spelling of this. But the top one was saying that like anyone who's not British, that we're like, we're hoity-toity if we try to use British English instead of regular American English. So
well, that's really extra amusing and shows the state of America because Canada has a bit of a mix of British and American spellings, but every other country, particularly Europe, if you're learning English, they're teaching you British English. You got the U's and the S and the. So we're literally the only country who has changed that. And the only reason we changed some of it, removing the U's and removing extra L's, is because we were starting with newspapers. And those were considered superfluous letters because you had to pay for your ads by the letter. So that's the only reason that those extra letters were ever removed, was because people were broke in America.
So
education from an editor.
This is deal with on a consistent daily basis. I feel like I should say we have to fight TikTok English. Yep.
There you go. TikTok. Oh. All of the videos,
about, especially as horror authors. I have nothing against the TikTok age. I'm a tiny bit older than the TikTok age, but I have nothing against the TikTok age. We still manage to market our books without, going on in skimpy outfits and doing a viral dance move that was, cool in the 70s to promote our books. I'm very proud of the horror community for this.
There has recently been a guy on YouTube that is, I'm not going to get into even what he's talking about because it's something that does not need to be brought up, but he is seriously bashing on somebody and making all these new videos over and over and over to trash somebody in the creative world. And his videos are each about 15 minutes long and spend 5 minutes promoting his Kickstarter campaign for his book. Like 2 or 3 times throughout the video, he'll be totally insulting someone and then be like, and by the way, buy my, hop over and pledge on my Kickstarter. But now back to how horrible this person is, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and yeah, if you just tuned in, it's a 15-minute video and nobody's fucking watching you live, dude. Seriously.
There are some music
we've seen it
through that. They deliberately bash on very popular musicians, and then go, and now check out my band. It's like, okay, nobody wants to do that after you just talk like an imbecile for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It is not necessary to downgrade, denigrate in order for you to be an artist. It's
Yeah.
It's insanity to me. Not the enjoyable type of insanity either.
And something else I wanted to bring up again, now that we're kind of speaking about some of the stuff going on, controversial wise, AI. AI taking over things. Fractured Mind Publishing does not use AI for any of the stuff. All of this artwork is bought and paid for, that goes to an actual person who goes and reads the stories and then creates the artwork. The cover artist is fabulous. Everything here is created just for these books. It's not just... It's easy for people to get away with AI these days, but it's becoming pointless. And one of the reasons why these books might cost a little bit more than some things are because there's real artwork in there. Yes, please, Stefan.
So, particular bent, we employ 3 separate artists for this Kickstarter. Paul K. He's the one that does all the interior art. Part of my was that he read each story and do an interior, because I thought that each story deserved their own cover, and I was going for the 1980s era horror pulp fictions. So that's what we went for. I think he nailed it. The dust jackets and the paperback, those are from the original cover artist, and his name is Ian. He's an Italian artist, and AI never has, and he publicly states he's very anti-AI and he never will use it. The case flow, that's by R.L. Perez of Blue Raven book cover art. She does amazing work, and she's the one who designed the nothing in our campaign is AI. If someone else wants to use AI, hey, that's on them. That's all cool. But we don't do that. We artists, because as writers, we're artists and we understand. So we make sure that artists get paid for making. We employ other artists to make our art great and to get a great presentation. So that's my little spill about AI.
I want to add on to that. Fractured Mind Publishing is doing acquisitions currently for an anthology out early next year. And I've been asked a few questions. And one of the frequent questions was, is there going to be any AI employed in this, in the editing and the cover? And no, there is not in anything. And I will not align myself with the company who uses AI either. My individual clients who are individual authors, that's on them. I can't stop them. I'm also not going to say, well, no, I won't work with you, because that's an individual. When it comes to a company, I will not be working with anyone who uses AI, who uses a shortcut, who uses what is basically a plagiarism software that also doesn't look good. I have yet to see an AI image and be like, oh, that looks great. No, I always find what's wrong with it immediately. And that's one of the things that I love, and that's a type of integrity that I think all authors and independent artists of any form should be working with.
And Raz, you had something too about AI.
I wanted to offer an interesting other side of this perspective. We are all AI, and here's why. On the basic concept of perception, right? we are internet signals to them. We are artificial signals because most of these people will never meet us. So I was really high the other day, and I was thinking, man, I am technically a figment of everyone's imagination that hasn't met me, that's watching me online, right? So I am therefore artificial intelligence to like a large amount of people out there. So then I started thinking, as a writer, am I using artificial intelligence because I am artificial intelligence, or how does that work in the basic concepts of perception? And then I just thought about that for like 2 days. Yeah, I'm still in that 2-day mark right now, so I'm still thinking about it. It's weird.
Do you need me to send you back the brain for a little while?
No, I think that would be bad for you, actually.
Okay, we share one.
Medication.
Oh no, it's just that endless loop. Like when you're really introspective and you're being creative, then you get super high and you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm artificial. I'm a figment of someone's imagination. And it's a spiral.
Actually, not only are you, but according to some scientific papers, they have proven that the world is the hologram.
Right.
So,
that's where part of it all came through, yeah. The Matrix theory. I just
How
took
do
all
I rewire it because I don't like the current simulation.
Agreed.
I have a lot of issues with it.
Bad programming, Lily.
I wish they would have told me not to take both pills at once, because I think that's what started my problem. I just saw 2 pills and I'm like, oh, fun time. I just red and blue. I couldn't decide, and not work out for me.
I think I need a patch or 2 or 5, something like that.
I just my concern with that is if we get a patch,
patch.
there's going to be some company out there that does your security update that just shuts down your whole systems for a week. Then you can't fly anywhere. You can't buy groceries. You can't go to the hospital because your whole system is just.
I don't leave my corner, but all right. Well, we're gonna run an ad here real quick. Gotta pay those bills. We'll be right back, and we'll tell you a little bit more, and we'll read you a little bit of the stories. So yeah.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductibus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductibus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
All right. We are back. Woo! Oh, we got... Oh, that was Stefan. Puny God. Yes. Well, you don't get to hear how Loki went Puny God. You have to read how Loki went Puny God. You don't get to have that much of a story from me. But, oh, I'm doing all sorts of things. I got this shit scared out of me just a second ago because Raz went up for a walk and something moved in like my bathroom door, and I thought I was going to be like, "Hey, how'd you get here?" And it wasn't Raz. So there's something walking around my apartment right now. Just thought I'd share with you, let you know. Raz, you're muted.
I realized that, and you let me do that, and you didn't even put up the new picture I made for when you're muted. I made a whole picture of this situation.
Oh, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, I made it a while ago because I do that a lot. I think you guys could make fun of me. Like if anyone was just going to randomly leave a door and just show up in someone else's house through another, it would just accidentally happen to me somehow, I feel like.
Yeah, that's why I was just assuming it was you, and it wasn't. So whoever's hanging out in my bathroom, hope you're having a good time.
I bet you I know who it is. Monster, man.
No,
We
man.
had and we found out later why she was always in our bathroom. She died in the bathroom.
Makes sense.
She would just be walking around in her night dress, like, okay, hi Katie. We even knew her name. We knew her name and everything.
There's a girl who died in my bedroom from smoke inhalation when there was a fire, but she's never bothered me. Like, she leaves me completely alone. She played with the neighbor kid for a while that his bedroom they were like shared a wall and stuff, but Raz has seen stuff walking around behind me when I'm doing it, and I just never notice. I am like completely insulated from everything in my house. My mom's house, totally different. Everything's fucking crazy there. But my place is usually like it doesn't bother me.
I was a fun fact. I died while doing the podcast.
No, go on. Sorry.
I was just messing with Bill. I said I died while doing a podcast.
Oh.
You just pop up in people's podcasts randomly.
Yeah, it's randomly.
After that, you would haunt StreamYard
forever. Yeah. Yep.
That would be scary. Like just visit from Raz. This huge. Oh, okay. There's your next urban legend. The creepypasta of Raz, the StreamYard haunter.
Yeah, there you go.
Who just hops on. All right, so do we want to give a little bit of a read on some stories here?
Sure.
I'm thinking yes.
All right. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
It's up to you. Ladies' choice.
Then I will go first and let you come up after, because that's easier. And this is the artwork that was made for my story. I'm very happy with it. I love it. Thank you, Mr. Cave. And my story is based a bit on Norse mythology, entering the Cthulhu mythos, and it is called The Weird Voyage. My name is Althea Smythe. I am a collector of odd trifles, curios, and artifacts relating to those known as the Old Ones and the Elder Gods. When possible, should I come upon manuscripts or records pertaining to the items I collect, I chronicle my findings so that others who share my interests might have a written account of past events. As to the veracity of my writings, I can only attest to recording those events which I find documentation supporting either the same or similar happenings. The following is a compilation of journals that were discovered in a collection of Old Norse memorabilia one of my agents found. I was unable to trace their origins other than to note that they were written during the mid-800s and that the writers came from southern Norway. I've taken the liberty of translating from the Old Norse and transcribing them in such a way as to make the descriptions of the events take place in chronological order and to be more comprehensible for the modern reader. The journals were recorded by 3 Volva, Norse seers or witches, Amma, Hild, Kolga, as well as the longboat captain, Romer, and an initiate of Kolga's, Elferstan. Amma. There are times when I dream and times when I see. This is a time when I see. I see dolphins. I see dolphins with the eyes of men wearing harnesses of ivory and pulling an ivory chariot deep in the dark waters of the sea. Riding in the chariot is a man so beautiful as to put Balder to shame. His skin is white, his features delicate as a youth just past the cusp of manhood, his hair swirling in a golden maelstrom as he speeds through the water. His beauty is such that it seems profane. Its perfection makes me shudder and try to turn away as his countenance brings to my mind a sense of the inhumanness of his being, but I cannot. As I watch, the dolphins near the shore of our village, and young Hawker, son of Peter and Helga, steps out into the water. The figure in the chariot rushes to him and embraces him, whispering in his ear. What is said I know not, but Hawker's face grows slack as he leads the man home to his mother, whom is also captured in an embrace, and when Peter returns, he reaches toward his wife and is pulled in while the whisperings continue. Strange, slick wisps reach from the man in the chariot and begin slipping through the doors towards the rest of the people in the village. Hawker wanders back to the water whilst his parents are being bewitched, and as he dives beneath the waves towards the chariot, his limbs begin to melt into his body, and he becomes a dolphin with the eyes of a man. These things I must tell to Hild and Kolga. Hild. Today I stood on the cliffs and stared out to the sea. As I watched, I soon saw. This is what I saw. I saw myself, Amma and Kolga, Alferstan, Romer, and his crew on a longboat traveling far, far to the southwest. I saw our ship surrounded by dolphins with the eyes of men. I saw snakes and crows in baskets on our ship and a calf tied to the mast. I saw Kolga driving the winds with her cords and knots. I saw an island below the lands known to us, beautiful but destroyed under the feet of an alabaster giant, fair of countenance but somehow horrific as well. I saw Elferstan smiling as snakes covered his body while blood seeped from their bites, which I collected in a bowl. In the bowl, in the blood, there were eyes staring out, eager, angry eyes waiting to be released. Looking down in the sea, there was another set of enormous eyes staring up at us and circling the island. A storm came crashing down around me and pulled me from my sight. I shall go to Amma, and together we shall go and speak to Kolga of what I saw. Kolga. It has been shown to me that I must make a record of the things related to my weird, my fate. I shall ask for writings as well from those who are tied to it. Someday our story shall be told, though when I have not yet seen. For many years I have lived high up on the cliffs, capturing the winds and the wool to spin into my threads, weaving them into cloth for sails and binding them with cords into knots. I do this knowing that one day it shall come to pass that they shall be needed to achieve my weird. I live here with Alferstan, a young man whose weird is tied to my own, and a few women who aid me in the weaving. The Norns must delight in my weird, for most of my life has been spent high away up from the village, collecting the winds with which to send me far across the seas where I shall face it. Alferstan was brought to me as a child, and I have taught him the ways of the gods. He has no fear of his weird. When he was old enough, I sent him to the village, and he was taught to sail on the ships. He then returned to me and has since devoted himself to learning about the gods and aiding me in my work. When I am caught up in the weaving, the web of weird is sometimes shown to me. As of late, it has become clearer and clearer. I know that soon I shall be visited by Amma and Hild, and our journey from home shall begin. The great sail that has been woven over the years with threads full of captured winds is finished, and a basket with coils of knotted cords sits in the corner. Elferstan has crafted a rope. This one not of winds, but of the tranquility and calmness he has learned. Our preparations are complete. Elferstan. Kolga has told me to record my thoughts as we prepare to go and face our weird. I am not a poet. She says that is fine. I just need to write it down so that it may be remembered somehow. I do not doubt her. The web of weird opens to her. Whatever she asks of me, I shall do. She is the one who has raised me and helped me make sense of my life since my parents died. I should explain that, perhaps. My parents died when I was 5. I was staying with my aunt, and they were off on a raid. I saw them, torn and bloody, walking up to me. I ran to them, but they did not stoop to pick me up. They looked tired, but at peace. My mother touched my cheek, and my father tousled my hair. They told me that they loved me and that I would make them proud. Then a woman, half alive and half dead, came behind them, and they turned and faded away. She smiled at me and told me not to be afraid. My aunt shook me from behind and asked what I was looking at. When I turned back, she was gone. I told my aunt what I had seen, and she reached out a trembling hand and touched my cheek, wiping off the blood left behind by my mother. She spoke to Amma that night, and when word came back that my parents were dead, they sent me up here to live with Kolga. Amma, Hild, and Kolga are all Volva. They all have special gifts from the gods, but Amma and Hild remain in the village while Kolga lives up here in the hills and cliffs. I believe she sees more as she has more room to see. She taught me about the gods, about the 9 realms, about the living and about the dead. She taught me to capture winds, to spin thread, and to weave the threads and knot the cords. When I was old enough, she sent me down to learn how to sail under Ramar in exchange for cloth and knots made of wind. It is with Ramar that we shall set out on our journey soon. While I grew up, I had times when I was visited by the gods. They told me secrets and truths and lies and stories. I was also visited by the dead. Other than my parents, none of them ever spoke to me. I don't think some of them even saw me. High on the cliffs is a good place to see many things. It is a good place to learn and to think. I learned from Kolga, and I learned from the women who help her weave. I learned from the gods, and I even learned from the dead. You might wonder what the silent, sometimes unseeing dead could teach me. They taught me silence and acceptance. It might not be as exciting as the stories and secrets of the gods, or as useful as capturing the winds and weaving, but it is still a good lesson, particularly for someone with my weird. Soon we shall travel farther than I can even imagine, farther than the farthest I can see from the tops of the cliff, and farther than that by hundreds of times. We shall be going to a land that none of our people have ever seen, across stretches of the sea that they may never cross. It shall be one more thing that shall be seen by me and not by many others. But it is not my weird to not be able to tell anyone about it after. Perhaps that's why Kolga wants me to write down my thoughts now, so that they shall last when my weird has come to pass. Romer. I write this for Kolga, who has for years blessed me with her gifts of wind. Knotted in cords and woven into my sails, for this I have promised her 2 things. The first, which I have done, was to train Alfristan in the ways of sailing. The second is that someday she may ask me to undertake a voyage, and I must agree, no matter how far or how strange the destination. This she has told me in the past few days to prepare for. For over 20 years, I have sailed these seas to explore, to raid, and to transport goods. I've always had good fortune in my voyages, and I know that no small part of that is due to the gifts of Kolga. When sailing with others and the waters would become becalmed, I could untie a knot from the cord she had gifted me, and a wind would rise up. My sails could withstand the mightiest of winds without tearing, and pick up the slightest of them to carry us on. I have prospered and now have a wonderful longboat of my own. It is on this craft that I shall be carrying Kolga and her company to a place hitherto uncharted for a purpose which I do not yet know. We shall go with a small crew and a large amount of supplies. Though it sounds like a fool's errand, I have complete faith in Kolga. Her visions shall lead us, and her winds shall carry us. As we will be taking with as well the Volver, Amma, and Hild, I imagine that this journey is ordained by the gods. I have selected my crew based upon their skills and their faith, as it shall be a journey into the unknown, and I do not wish those who are craven and may rebel should we be far from known lands for a long period of time. The supplies are being gathered, and the ship is being made ready. We shall sail soon. And that is what you are going to get from me for today. If you would like to find if you'd like to find out what happens on this weird voyage, buy the book and read it. I hope you will enjoy it. We get past the Norse, and there is some great Lovecraftian stuff coming up, and I think it's some fun times. And I get a couple of different people have enjoyed it. It's kind of a spoiler there, but Loki is involved, and so Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I can 100% guarantee that you will not be disappointed in the stories that you find in this anthology.
Yeah, no, I have to
Yeah.
concur with that. These were some fantastic pieces of horror and I know Lovecraft is considered sci-fi, so I will say horror and sci-fi as well, whether it's set in a fantasy world in the past or contemporary. Everybody just did such a fantastic job with both volumes, but I feel weird saying that about volume 2 because I'm in it. with volume 1, everyone just, yeah, it was amazing.
And it does. There's stories from way back in time, like mine. There's stories that are taking place present day, and they're all. I feel weird saying something about something that I'm including myself in, but I think they're all pretty good. I think they're all really good, but I'm proud of mine, so I can say that.
We should be. We shouldn't feel ashamed. We should be able to say, yeah, we're fucking awesome. We're fucking awesome, no matter what story it is. So yes, you're right.
5 stars.
So
as a reader, 5
absolutely.
Go ahead, Jenny.
As a reader, for all the stories, the book gets 5 stars. All the stories get 5 stars. I have enjoyed them. I haven't got the new anthology, but Raz is being a PA of Raz. I get treats. And I know his story is good. I know all the others are good. 5 stars as a reader.
And speaking of Raz's story, this is the artwork that was created based upon his story.
Yeah, I was really excited when he was showing that to me. I was freaking out, going, "Oh my god, that's it! That's the one right there!" I was showing my wife, I was showing the kids, like, "Look at this shit! Look at this! We've seen it 100 times, Dad. Here's 101. I don't care." I know we're going to be doing a couple of these this month, so I figured I'd do a couple different excerpts from the story, like, because it'd be easier that way somehow. So like when I wrote this one in general, I've been wanting to do a dark ride story for a while. I have an obsession with not just haunted attractions, but dark rides. And dark rides have actually been around since 1901, and they started in very similar to the dark ride that's described in this story, is very similar to the original technology they used back then. And I wanted to find interesting ways to kind of tie things into the mythos with some interesting twists and turns. That's all I'll say right now. I named it Rorschach and Tea Leaves. Kind of a long story behind that I won't get into right now, but it sort of makes sense like when you read the full story. Let's start here. To the uninitiated, Ohio is a prolific Midwestern state. It's the home of aviation, pro baseball, holds the Hall of Fame for both pro football and rock music, among other things. It boasts the inventions of the light bulb, early motion picture cameras, automobiles, lifesavers, hot dogs, and so much more. Famous people like Steven Spielberg, Wes Craven, Marilyn Manson, Clancy Brown, and so many others began their lives right here. To the initiated, however, there's a whole other universe hidden beneath. It's a mecca for all things strange and unusual. I'm talking alien and cryptid sightings galore, serial killers, recorded paranormal activity, vampire cults, regular cults, just so many things, man. And even the haunted attraction industry here is the biggest in the world. Basically, if you can name it, you can find it in Ohio. I can almost imagine the disbelief on your faces as you read this. I get it. I felt the same way when I first moved here and discovered it all for myself. It can be a lot to take in, but trust me. When I say it's world-shattering to see it in action, it is. When I was young, I transferred from the University of Nebraska in Lincoln to Ohio State University in Columbus. I won't bore you with all the details behind the transfer, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I was a big fish in a small pond in Lincoln. I lived there all my life and got into a fair amount of trouble over the years. Up until Dad died a few years after Mom, I was basically a perpetual college student with no real goals or direction. Then when Dad died, I realized I had no one to fall back on but myself. I was the only child, and my parents had also been only children. What little family still existed was spread out and estranged with no real way to contact one another. I knew that if I didn't break the streak my routine was in and start all over, I'd up in jail or worse. So one day, out of the blue, I applied for a transfer to Ohio State. Not for any particular reason, to be honest. Ohio just, I don't know, it seemed like a place someone would go to start over. Seems weird to admit it out loud, but it's the truth. Some choices just don't have magical reasoning or logic behind them. I stayed away from frats and the party lifestyle in general this time around. I needed to buckle down and open some doors for my future. Well, I got lonely real quick. The first whole semester I was there, I don't think I even saw my roommate more than 5 or 6 times. I went from that big fish in a little pond to a drop of water in a bucket, just like that. Before the next semester rolled around, I decided to check out what clubs are on campus. I figured it'd be a great way to socialize, while doing some resume building. You can find a club or group for pretty much everything in Ohio State, and the only problem I had was making up my mind on which one I wanted to join. Most of the clubs and groups had trial periods. You could sit in on a couple meetings and, check out what they had to offer before you made up your mind. I did this quite a bit until I landed on the one that was just for me. It was the Urban Explorers Club. I was no stranger to urban exploration, of which my juvenile record can attest. I was something of a legend back home, although something told me this would be a little more professional than, breaking into vacant properties to throw ragers. Still, it was nice to have some level of familiarity back in my life, in any capacity. I'll make the introductions as quickly as I can. No doubt you've got something better than to do to listen to me drone on with life histories of everyone in the group. Here we go. Jeff, president of the Urban Explorers Club, was our fearless leader. He was a 5th-year senior and had been in the group the longest, although he claims it had been around for a long time. Apparently, it had been founded by his great-grandfather or some such. Next up, Alice, or
We lost Raz.
It stayed still
well.
for a few minutes, and he was just gone.
That's what they call foreshadowing. If you want to know the rest of the story, by the anthology.
Oh, yeah. He should be. I'm hoping he'll get back. We're both working with really sad internet. So
he had such a good voice for voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
Audiobooks.
He's a professional storyteller too, guys. If anybody is looking to bring a Raz to a campfire or something like that, you can contact him on his website, and he will tell you stories. You hook him up on a little Kindle or something, or if you're in the Dayton, Ohio area, you can have him come over and do professional storytelling for you. Scare the shit out of your kids while you're camping.
It's too bad that he's not local, because I would love for him to come over to my house, use the equipment that I have for voiceover, which you're listening to now, and more lore from the Mythos, the whole volume. He's the person to do it.
Oh yeah, he's got some of his own recording equipment. He's just having some issues right now with where they're all located at and stuff, but that should clear up sometime soon.
Story on that. It's truly terrible. We were talking on the phone the other night. I called him and ask him what's up, and he goes, "Not much. How you doing?" "Currently better than you are." And he just busted up laughing. He was like, "Okay, you got there."
Oh, we got him.
That's Raz's story to tell, so I'm not going to put anything out there.
Can you guys hear me okay?
But I thought it was immensely amusing. Here he comes again.
So you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. My soundboard just died, the brand new one. It just stopped functioning and powered itself down, I think maybe forever. So I had to back out and rehook some things up really quick. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's all good.
We shall pop you back up again.
All right. I think I know where I was. Allie, yeah, okay, we're good. Alrighty. Next up was Alice, or Allie as she preferred. She was the vice president. She didn't take shit from anyone and made sure we all toed the line when it came to the rules. Kyle was our safety officer. A lot of things can go wrong when you're exploring abandoned and often forgotten properties. It was his job to research the places we planned to explore and ensure a plan was in place for any conceivable emergency. He saved our asses plenty of times. That brings us to Nico. There's not a lot to say about Nico, really. He only joined the club a semester before I did, and didn't really talk all that much. He was a nice guy, though. And when he did talk, he somehow always knew exactly what to say in every moment. Then there's me, number 5. I rented out our crew and was a much-needed addition, according to Jeff. Apparently, my lockpicking skills and general criminal history would come in handy. There were places they'd wanted to explore, but couldn't until I came along. There's no shortage of places around Ohio to explore. It's a fairly small state, easy to get from one end to the other with a reasonable amount of time. We even dipped into neighboring states from time to time if something worthwhile came across our radar. In less than a year with them, we had all the most famous spots available to us. The group had been through at least half of them in the past, but claimed that they were always worth another visit. I could spend the better part of a day and still won't remember every single place we hit. So I'll make it simple and I'll keep it to the top 10 in no particular order. 1. Helltown, Peter's Cartridge Plant, the Warner and Swayze Observatory, Cincinnati Subway, the Iron Soup, the Wagner Manufacturing Company Factory, Moonville, the Old Cleveland Aquarium, the Molly Stark Mental Hospital, and Roseville Prison. No doubt some of these locations will either sound or be familiar to you. These days, many of them have either become too unsafe to explore, are impossible to get to, or have been demolished altogether. Each of them were amazing in their own unique ways, yet none of them are the focus of what I'm about to tell you. Of all the places the club had explored throughout their strange little history, one location had remained forever unexplored. According to Jeff, it was their holy grail. It was the one place every generation of club members had dreamed of exploring, but for some reason or another was never able to. That was impressive to me, considering how long he'd claimed the club had existed for. Now, this location cannot be found on any maps. You won't find it on Reddit, Atlas Obscura, or any other source you can think of. The only mentions of it are in a small town somewhere in Ohio, which I won't name for reasons that will soon make sense to you. Even then, the only mentions are of the date it was built, the day it closed, and a few sets of blueprints that don't seem to match up to one another. So what's the name of this mysterious holy grail of untold adventures, you ask? Marshville. Yeah, you read it right, Marshville. It was an entire little theme park that went out of its way to represent an enchanted swamp, or marsh, as the case may be. The real kicker, it was owned and operated up until the late 1950s by a company called Eldritch Amusements, based out of Essex County, Massachusetts. For those of you not doing a running count of the red flags here, we're up to 3. 1, it's abandoned. 2, it's swamp themed. And 3, there were some serious Lovecraft vibes going on that only I seem to be picking up on in the group. Now, Marshville was like any other little theme park from back in those times. It was largely an over-decorated playground for families, complete with picnic areas, shelters. Sure, you had your basic fair-like rides and games, a simple Ferris wheel, and even a cramped wooden roller coaster called the Hydra. The piece de resistance, though, was a water-based ride that started as a log flume and worked its way into a haunted swamp. Eldritch Amusements had gone kind of crazy, I guess, with the name for this ride. It was called The Horror at Marshville Swamp. It's quite the mouthful, and even with what little marketing there was back then, it had likely been a pain in the ass. Still, as far as dark rides go, it was about as unique as one could hope for at first glance. That fateful day, we arrived not long after dawn with our gear and a can-do attitude. Some of the buildings scattered throughout the park were in such disrepair that giant sections of walls and roofs were missing. Others seemed as if they would crumble just by standing near them, and Kyle emphatically steered us clear of these. The buildings only took up a few hours of our time. It was enough to get some footage, clip the occasional worthwhile memento. And one of them, I even found an old black baseball cap in a partially shattered glass case that was somehow untouched by the passage of time or Mother Nature herself. Other than a little dust, it was miraculously in perfect shape. It bore the name and logo of the park's coaster, the Hydra, which was just a reptile-looking creature with a long tongue and fangs. I brushed it off with my pants and plopped it on my head. I somehow was not surprised that it fit perfectly. We spent another few hours wandering the grounds themselves. How often do you get to explore an abandoned amusement park? We'd done a few, but none of them came close to the atmosphere of this place. Even the family aspect of the park was marred by creepy signage as far as the eye could see. And that's where we're going to cut it.
All right. And once again, if you would like to catch the rest of that story, go down below, see our banner, go to that Kickstarter, order your copy, get some of the gorgeous artwork that was involved in this so you can have that to illuminate the stories with you. It was, and I just have to agree with Raz again, seeing somebody interpret our art or our stories into art was just so cool. The parts that they took out of it, it's like you get to see what somebody else visions when they see your stuff. It's it's thrilling. So
cool, man.
And just as a side note, artist is going to be used for the interior art for More Lore Volume 2. So tune in, people.
Nice.
You're in for a ride.
awesome. All right. So we've gotten the story rings out. We've got the Kickstarter up. We've gotten everybody chatted with. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap on this one. And I have got everybody's links up above, down below, depending on where you're at. You can find them somewhere in the show links. But Stefan, where would you like people to reach out to you at?
The best place is Facebook, or I have a personal page on Facebook, and there is the publishing page for the publishing company. And of course, go buy the book. You won't be sorry.
Right. And Lily?
My link tree is in the description, as she said, but you can find me most easily on Facebook under the name lilyluchesi. I also write novels in various steam and darkness levels, as romance as Samantha Calcott and S.L. Sinclair. And you can also find Partners in Crime Book Services on Facebook as well, if you are an author or a publishing company in need of editing, formatting, or various other projects. And one final thing is for anyone watching, I am going to be attending the Ignite Your Soul author event on August 10th, this coming Saturday, in Toronto, Canada. So if anyone is up in that area, I would love to come meet you.
Nice.
Can I interject real quick?
Yes, sure. You may.
When I was going to law school, my very first law professor, he was an amazing woman, and I turned her on to Lily's books, and she has let me know. This is a woman who teaches law as a professor at a university, that she has thoroughly become engrossed in Lily's books. Lily says that you should pick up her books. Let me give you a recommendation. Not only from me, but from a law professor who I trust with my life. Get the book.
Nice.
Thank you.
Get the books. We don't have a big spiral to put on the screen because I'll have seizures if I do that. But all right, I'm gonna go next. I'm easy. Kari Leigh Sanders is my author page on Facebook. If you take the Lee out and use Kari Sanders, and you find that staring at you, that is my avatar. I am a crow that is judging you. Go to that page, and you'll find my links to everything, to Owlite, to my author page, to splash pages, which this coming, let's see, what do we have going on this week? On tomorrow night, you're going to be catching us on with Tomb of the Terrible, and we are doing, is it Rock and Roll Nightmare, I believe?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does that sound right? Okay.
Yep.
And yep, and we will have Carissa Grant will be joining us on Splash Pages. She just went to a con where she was like featured in it, and she is also a major Kickstarter campaigner. I think she's on like her 12th or 13th one now. She just knocks those suckers out of the park. So we'll be interviewing her then. And yeah, so that's how you get a hold of me and what I have going on. Raz, how about you?
Well, my name is Raz T Slasher. I'm a Virgo, a copious pot smoker, and I enjoy long walks through the woods where no one can hear you scream. You can find me at raztslasher.com or wherever toys are sold now with Kung Fu Action Grip. You can type my name into any search engine where you'll talk to the number one Raz T Slasher cosplayer in the world, which is Jenny. She answers everything, and she's great at pretending to be me. You won't know the difference, I promise. Otherwise, I'm just wherever the pancakes are. That's where you'll find me.
and
I have one more thing. Hold on, one more thing. I forgot to announce. In 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, you're going to be able to find me at Bricky's Comedy Club doing my first ever 5-minute comedy performance. I'm really excited about that too. I'll tell you guys more about that.
Oh, wow. I did not know about this.
No one did. I'm telling you all for the first time right now. Someone will, yeah. Somebody will.
Film it. We
will.
All right, and Friday, where can we find you?
First, I want to say I have went and checked, and I can honestly say all three of these people up here are in my Kindle. You must read all three of these people and just understand the one in the middle are for my spicy people, and you will enjoy her, all my spicy people. And for everything else, you have the comedy and the horror, Eldritch horror, all of it, with my other two people up here. And Stefan is I did not expect the purveyor of the void to show up. I just pursue the void constantly. And he just shows up and he gives me wonderful things to read too through his company and all he does. But either way, I'm here at Owlite Network. If you want to read my stuff, go through Fake Horror Network. Fake Horror Publishing is also, I do their stuff. You can find me just about anywhere doing everything for like 9 different people and myself at Jennifer Elliott is my author page, and Friday with the Library in the Blue Box.
All right. And by the way, Stefan writes things too. You can look those up. They're pretty good.
Yes, they are.
He doesn't talk. So I recommend you go out and buy some of his stuff.
Shy.
Read his books.
Otherwise, we know where you live. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This man pays me to make his books printable. He is a great author. Read him. Don't listen to him talking about everyone else. He's talking about himself too.
All right. So thank you very much for. Don't make me pull this podcast over to scold you, Stefan. Promote yourself. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. And we will be doing this for the rest of the Kickstarter. We'll be putting up different shows with some of the other people who are involved so that we can hear some of their stories and why they were inspired to write them and stuff too. Have a good night and thank you.
Later.
Bye.